entering a new book. Now that you've set up the system, it's time to enter a book, and you can do that by going to PubAssist by either clicking on Books, or you can just click on PubAssist itself. It'll take you to your list of books. You can see there's a lot of already in the catalog there, but we're going to go and click on New Books. Here, we start out with the language. It's always defaulted to English, so if we need to choose another one, we can always select from the languages we've set up in the system. Next, we can either paste in or type in the series name. If this is the first book and you don't know if there's going to be a series or not, you enter the title of the first book. So the book we're going to be doing today is Samurai's Revenge. So we'll go ahead and click onto the series volume, and you'll notice that the title, the series name, falls into the titles field by default. We can change that if we need to. So series name, this is book 1, so we'll just leave that as blank. However, if you later decide to add a second book to this series, you may want to come back and add back in the volume, the series volume number of 1, so that the system knows how to order your books when it comes to the back catalog. The books will be ordered either by the series volume or by the publish date, so be sure to fill in both of those informations for series. We can change this if we'd like to. For example, we can change that to that and move on, but nope, we want to keep it as what it was. Next will be subtitle. There's no subtitle for this book, but we can add it if we want to do. Author, we're going to add Betty Boop as the author of this book. We can add a second author if we want, but we will choose not to. Genre, we set up the genres for the system, and we're going to choose paranormal for this book. Match story content font. This is a very special feature. If you've written a lot of books or you've written books over a time period, your Word documents might look different. For example, you might have been using Times New Roman when you first started writing books. Now you're using Geneva. And when you copy and paste from the original files into the database, you'll find that some books will look different than others, so that when you advertise a sneak peek of one book and another, you might have the story content of one book being Times New Roman, and then you look down further in the book and then there's Geneva, and that doesn't look attractive. Or you might have size 12 font in the story content section, and then size 10 font everywhere else. What this checkbox does, it allows you to have the same font everywhere. So it takes actually the font from the third to the last paragraph of your story content and makes that font the same font as the rest of the book, or makes the rest of the book the same as that font. It also makes all of your line spacing one single spacing throughout, and it makes all of your font size 12 font. So that's a very useful feature to have, and that's checked by default, and we'll leave that checked. Next, we will go and we'll add on the description here. I'll copy and paste that in. There you go. There's the first line. We can add an additional description if we choose. We will not for this book. Here's Smashwords description, which is a maximum of 400 characters. I do use Smashwords, so I'll paste that in. Underneath that is brief description, which is only 160 characters. We don't have one of those for this book. Now we'll add in story content, in which case you can also add in media if you choose to. Keep in mind that you can bold anything afterwards, italicize, or make any of these various changes here. But we'll go ahead and copy and paste this section in. And before I do, I'd like to make another note, which is garbage in, garbage out. So if you put in a clean bit of text into this field, you'll get that out. And Microsoft Word is quite a beast. I'll go to a document to show you what I mean. When you look at the document, there's actually two layers to this. There's what you see on the surface and what you see, what's actually being held underneath. And that's controlled by, what's underneath is controlled by something called styles. And you can see that up on top here. You'll see that the style of this book is normal. But if you have done a lot of revisions to your book, sometimes crazy things could happen and your style could end up being something called normal 1 or normal 2, in which case it doesn't actually, what's underneath doesn't actually look like what's on the surface, because it started out normal 1 and then you change the font and you change the line spacing and then you change all the things to make it look like the way you are. But the way our system is set up to use whatever it is as your base formatting. So one way to double check what you're putting in is you can go ahead and select a part of the text and you can click Shift F1 on Windows, and it will reveal formatting. And you can see exactly what's going to end up once you paste it into My Publishing Assistant. If the style was different, there would be another of these headings called Styles, and it would say Normal 1 or anything like that, in which case you just have to click on it and then choose the style that you want. But we see that we are all good here, so we'll go ahead and close that. We'll select all, we'll copy, and then we'll go ahead and paste it into the section. Depending on the size of the book will depend on how long it takes to paste in. We are all pasted in. We'll move to the top. And now what we have to do is we have to designate chapters so that EPUB or Mobi will have the chapters for their table of contents section. The way you do that is you highlight the chapter header and you click Make Chapter. And you'll notice it'll put the code before and after it, and then when you preview the book or when you export the EPUB, that code will disappear. I'm going to go through them really quickly. And the fast way to do this is to do a find for, in my case, the word chapter, and it'll go and find each of them. And for Windows, that is Control F, and just type in chapters there, and you can hit return, and it'll find the next occurrence of the word chapter, chapter 2. So I'll go ahead and highlight that, hit Make Chapter, highlight, Make Chapter, and then I'll just go through the rest of them really quickly and get back to you when I'm done. So now that we have marked all of our chapters, we move on to the next section, which is the excerpt. I'll paste that in. Then we'll move on to the dedication. There is no dedication for this book, but I could type it in or paste it in if I wanted to there. Word count. There are no commas to be used here. You can enter by either copying and pasting or typing in your ISBNs, and you'll notice that once you enter one, it will automatically give you another box in case you want to enter a second one. Back catalog authors. This is where you decide which authors you're going to advertise in your back catalog section. In this case, we're going to choose Betty Boop to advertise only Betty Boop's books in the back of her in this particular book. And we're going to choose to select all of the back catalog genres, actually -1. So we'll select all of them. And we don't want any of Betty Boop's BDSM stories to be appearing there, so we'll go ahead and unselect that. Next, copyright year, so we'll type in 2014. We'll choose the sneak peek title, and we can choose any book that's in our catalog. So we're going to choose to sneak peek Samurai Zombie Hunter in the back of Samurai's Revenge. That seems like the same group of readers. And I'll show you what it means to display a sneak peek when I show you the preview. Now we're going to choose our advertisements. Our advertisements where we set up the official website for the podcast and visit this person's Facebook page. So these first 4 are all for Alex Anders, but if I keep on going down, number 5 is for Betty Boop. So I'll choose to show that one and also to show that one. Here's a section where you add in the URLs going directly to the book on Amazon or Kobo or Barnes & Noble, Smashwords. Theoretically, we're publishing this book for the first time, so it wouldn't have one, but I'm going to add in a couple of links just to show you how to do it. It's pretty basic, just copy and paste it in. I think that's enough. And we'll also put one in, just a random one, into the Amazon audiobook link, because I'd like to show you what happens when we do that. So that's there. Next, we go down to the published date. By default, it'll show today's date when you create the record. And today's date is, look at that. It's Valentine's Day 2014. How sweet. Underneath that is the audiobook published date. We can fill that in once we publish the audiobook, just to keep in our files. Translated by is the person who we choose to translate the book, so we can fill that in later if we choose. And the note section is just something we can put in specific for this book. And make note that you can choose to put the note section into your layout so that every book that you output can have whatever the note is for that particular book within the book itself. We'll go back to the top. Here we choose to set our book cover. So we'll click it. Now, we would go through and upload a new file if we hadn't already, and that's simply select files and we'll go through the browse section. But it's already in our catalog, so let's go ahead and choose it. Samurai's Revenge by Betty Boop. We'll go ahead and set featured image. There it is, Samurai's Revenge, Betty Boop. We can move on. We'll skip through this section here, and we'll skip the save button for now. And we'll go ahead and choose categories. This is just to keep a record of it in case you want to use it later if you ever use this system, for example, to create a website. So we will go ahead and choose this. I'll choose adventure. I'll choose, let's choose samurai. And I'm going to add a new category. So I'll click on add new category. And we're going to call that one Revenge Tales. I'm going to just hit return. And we're done with that little section there. You'll notice that, let's just go back and take a look, that the Revenge Tales was added to the top of the list. Later on, will be sorted by alphabetical. For the tags, we go ahead and type in or paste in. So we can choose this one. And then we'll go ahead and paste in some more. We'll click add. And there they all are down there. Now, the most important part, hitting the save button. So now that we have saved, it's all done. So let's take a look at what we've created. We'll go down to the Pub Assistant Export section. We'll choose a layout. We can choose either the generic, which comes on by default, or we can choose to use our Smashwords layout or anything else we've created. We'll go generic for right now. And then vendor links. Which links do you want to appear in the back catalog section and the sneak peek section? So let's say we're creating a book for Amazon. We obviously want the Amazon links to appear in this particular book. So let's take a look at the preview and see what that looks like. And here we have it. This is our back catalog section in front because that's where we choose to put it in the layout section. Titles by Betty Boop, Paranormal. There's Samurai's Revenge. And here's the audiobook for Samurai's Revenge. Because remember, we paste that in there. Here is Samurai Zombie Hunter, and then we have another section, another category written by Betty Boop, which is romantic comedies. That's Fixing Cubit. And then we have the title, and all the stuff was designed when we did our book layout. Here are the advertisements, table of contents. We have each one of them, and if you click on any of them, you can be taken to it. So let's go to chapter 18, which is here. But let's go to the bottom of the book to see what's next. There's the favorite review section we set up in our layout section. And here's our sneak peek. So when you add a sneak peek to a book, it always looks like this. It starts out with sneak peek : and then enjoy the sneak peek of Samurai Zombie Hunter. It'll show the cover if you've included it. This is the Amazon book, so it'll show a link going to the book on Amazon. The genre, by, author. This is the description of the book. And here is the excerpt of the book. So all of the readers that, as soon as they finish reading Samurai's Revenge, they'll next see Samurai Zombie Hunter, and hopefully they'll click on through to the book and purchase it immediately. At the end of the excerpt is another link called Read More Now, which again takes you to the book on Amazon. And after that, on this particular layout, is our legal section, and that is done. So that is how you create a book in My Publishing Assistant. Now it's time to output it. And we're going to go ahead and output that book for Amazon. So we make sure that we still have the generic layout. We make sure we still have the Amazon vendor links. Now we just click the EPUB button because that's what we're going to upload. And there it is. We have just downloaded the Samurai's Revenge EPUB version to your computer, and you're ready to go. So now let's skip ahead in time. Let's say that you've released Samurai's Revenge, and it's sold hundreds, if not thousands of books, and you wrote a sequel to it, Samurai's Revenge 2. What we can do to enter that is we can go back and hit our new book and start filling everything in like we did the last time, set to English. But this time, we'll notice that Samurai's Revenge is already in the system, so we can go ahead and click on that, and then click off of it. And what the system does is it says, oh, I noticed there's already a Samurai's Revenge in the system. You must be entering Samurai's Revenge 2. So it automatically fills in the number 2 in the series volume section, and it fills in the title with a number 2 after it. We can, of course, change that if we want to, but that is correct, so we'll leave it. The author is set from the last time, which is Betty Boop. The genre is set from the last time. Now we have to click on the match checkbox there to make sure everything looks pretty. And I'll go to the more important parts down the bottom, which is that because this is a book 2, it says, well, what do we use for the back catalog authors the last time? Well, we used Betty Boop. What did we use for the genres the last time? We did this, and remember, we took out this one particular BDSM. And we used the copyright year, which was 2014. A little lower, we can see that we used advertising number 5 before and 6 before, so we'll use those 2 again. Those are just little things that we've done to try and make entering all the information a little easier for you. And you'll notice that the tags have also been brought across. And we'll go ahead and enter in the categories over here. So it was Samurai. For this particular book, it was Revenge Tales, and it was an adventure, all in alphabetical order. Let's go ahead and we'll enter the cover, and then we'll take a look at what we have in the preview section. And you'll notice that everything looks the same except for one small detail, which is now, since you've added a book 2 to the series, book 2 has been added to the list of books available in that series. So we have the audiobook, and we have book 2, and if we did an audiobook for book 2, it would say book 2 and audiobook, semicolon, book 3, book 4, and so on. So that's how you enter in a book in English. Now we're going to take a quick look to see what it looks like to enter a book in another language. The process for entering a foreign language title is similar to entering an English title with one small exception, which is you hit New Books, and instead of leaving it on English, we'll go ahead and choose a language. It pulls up all the languages we've set up in the system. I'm going to choose French. And then it's important to make them all fall under one series name because it's just a translation, it's not a new series. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose Samurai's Revenge again. And this time, it will know that this is the first Samurai's Revenge book in French, so it won't fill in anything for the series volume, which is correct. Now for the title, this is the English title, but we actually need a French title. So we'll go and we can copy and paste in or type in our French title. There is our French title, and we can add in the subtitles if we want. Author name, Betty Boop, genre, paranormal. Our checkbox, we want to make sure that's checked. And our other variation when it comes to entering in a foreign language title is down for the sneak peek, so we'll just scoot ahead there to take a look, which is that now the sneak peek only shows you the books in the language chosen, which is French. So here we have